I decided to put up a tutorial on how to make these masks, the protective face masks for us to wear, or for anybody to wear during this pandemic that we're experiencing. I saw the idea on Facebook with a link to Deaconess Hospital, where they had given directions and a tutorial as well on how to make them, because they're experiencing the shortage just like everybody. I've done a couple of tweaks based on just researching and experimenting and seeing how it works for me. So this is sort of my interpretation of that first original pattern idea. Here are my fabrics that I've pre-cut using my rotary cutter and ruler. You don't have to do it that way. If you're only making a few, you don't need to do that. But I'm making a lot, and so I wanted to make sure I had plenty of pieces already cut out, because it makes the process a whole lot faster if it's already cut and you're not having to get up away from your machine half a dozen times in the day. So these are my 100% cotton prints, just stashed fabric that I have kind of stashed away. And this pile is 100% cotton flannel. This goes on the inside part of the mask. So this would be what is closest to your nose and your mouth. And then this is what's on the outside. Okay, so these are 9 inches by 6 inches. Nope, 9 inches by 7 inches. I adjusted that from the original pattern. And on these pieces, you might be able to see, if you can zoom in, Isabella, I have serged the top edge. And there's a reason for that. The first step in any of this is to serge the top edge of this piece and then the inner lining piece. If you don't have a serger, all you have to do is fold your edge down and zigzag across the top on both. But I have a serger and it works really, really well and fast. Okay, so Isabella, if you want to come around here so that they can see. The other thing that I normally have pre-cut, and I had finished up a bunch of masks earlier, and so I used up all of them, are my elastics. And I am making these to be small masks. They need to be a 6-inch piece of elastic. So let me just cut a piece real quick here. Get a new package. This is 1/4 inch wide. There's all kinds of elastic out there, although I am understanding that it is in short supply now too. So you may have to order it. But at any rate, you can use this. People are also using hair bands, elastic hair ties, to make their earpieces. But I measure out about 6 inches, and you need 2 per mask. So I'm just going to trim that, kind of use it to measure against itself. First step, get your toes, is on the correct side, the right side of the fabric. I sort of put my piece of elastic at that angle in the corner. And all I'm going to do is straight stitch over top of it a few times. And I finish that, trim it off. And I come to the other corner of the short side and do the same thing. And I try to trim all my little threads, but I know I don't get them all. And I'll just say right away that this is not a blue ribbon project. It's not going to be perfect, but it is going to work. Okay, on the other side of the mask front, do the exact same thing. And then we take that piece again, go to the other corner. This one still has a little tail from the serging, so I'll just trim that in a minute. Trim all of that at the same time. There we go. All right, so now that I have that, the next step is to take my backing, my inner lining piece, and I put right sides together with the serged edge at the top. Trim that better. Okay, I'm not going to serge this because it makes too much noise. So I'll just show you. But basically, you're going to put the two corner pieces together with a serged edge at the top using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. Put my presser foot down and my needle in, and I'm going to check to make sure that I'm getting the elastic, but I don't want to get the entire piece of elastic. I want to kind of scoot it over so it doesn't get caught in the side seam. Hold that down, and with a straight stitch, you just stitch that seam all the way down. And you may have to work with it a little bit to get that elastic to stay away from the side seam. Because then you're just in all kinds of mess if you have to unstitch that out. I hear somebody's tummy.
Oh gosh.
All right. And now you could go ahead and turn the corner, but in this case I would just stop it and back stitch, trim your thread, and then I'm going to go from the top on the other side because I want to make sure that that top seam is even across the top. You'll understand what I mean here in a second. I'm going to do the same thing, making sure I catch the elastic, but I don't catch it all the way down. 1/4 inch seam allowance, needle in, straight stitch down that side. And then I'm going to kind of do that number. There we go. Trim off my thing. Now, if you'll look here, you'll see, Laura's not the best cutter. And it's not exactly square, and that's okay, because like I said, this is not a Blue Ribbon State Fair project. This is just a way for somebody to protect themselves. So I'll deal with that in just a minute. I'm going to stitch the bottom edge all the way across. Stitch. I'm in a perfect world, I would probably trim that off, but I'm not even going to worry about it because that's on the inside. So the easy part now is I'm going to turn it right sides out, and the fun thing is that you've got two handles here, basically, those earpieces, and you can pull so that the corners pop out, and you don't have to really do a whole lot of work to get them to come out. That's kind of a nice thing. And you can see all the threads that I didn't trim. But that's all right. Okay. So now the next thing I'll do, this is what forms the little inner hole, pocket, whatever you want to call it, so that you could put in a filter. If you can come up with a suitable way to do that. I'm going to make sure these are matching. And I'm going to stitch across that top in a zigzag this time, about 2.5, 3 inches or so. And then I'll stop, back stitch, and I trim my thread here. I'm going to keep this part open, and I'm going to come down to about right there. I'm eyeballing all of this, and I zigzag all the way to the corner to close that seam up. But as you can see, there's now just enough room, hopefully, that you could insert a filter of sorts of some kind, and or not. You don't have to, but it makes it, gives it the option. Okay, so now, Isabella, we need to go over to the iron, because this will help with the last step. My iron is warm, and I'm just going to, I gotta take my glasses off, press this down decent. Doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to be pretty good and smooth. It doesn't have to be perfect. So what I'm going to do is eyeball this about, I'm going to say about an inch from the bottom edge. And I'm just taking, kind of pinching it, and I'm bringing it down kind of like that. And I kind of hold it, and I bring my iron and press. So you've got a pleat. The original pattern suggested you do 3 pleats, so that's what I'm doing. So I'm going to pull this down one more time and press with the iron. And then one final time, I'll bring it down and I'm going to press. I'm not one to use pins unless I just really have to. In this case, it makes life a whole lot easier if I pin it. And so with my pins, well, I just lost the pin. There we go. Okay, so with my pin, basically just kind of hold it in place. It doesn't have to be perfect. That's kind of a running theme with me. And I'll do the same thing on this side. And that just holds my pleats until I get back to the machine for the very final step. And that is to start at each corner. Again, 1/4 inch seam. And I know it's a 1/4 inch on my machine because my presser foot and my fabric line up exactly pretty good. And from the point of the needle to the presser foot edge is a 1/4 inch. I don't know how it is on your machine, but that's how it is on mine. Needles down, oops, straight stitch, needle down, back stitch, and you're going to be going through all those layers of pleat. So kind of go slow if you need to. And eventually you'll pull out that pin. Back stitch. Trim. And trim. And then one more time on this side. Pull out that pin, and at the very top corner, back stitch, trim, and trim one more, and then I'm all done. And the pleats are all going the same direction down, and they come open so that they can fit over the nose and over the mouth and to the chin, but they are short enough here on the sides that it can go over the ears. And then it just lays flat like that. So there you go, the finished product. And I hope this helped.
Oops.
Did you just delete
We
the whole
can
thing?
edit it out.
What'd
I
you do?
zoomed in on your face. So we're going to have to edit that out.
Okay, I'll have to look at it and see what it's like.
Okay.
Are we still recording?
Yes.
Lovely. Don't say anything. She's still recording.